If having your mother there embarrasses you so much, my husband. Martin Hale said, then maybe you do not deserve a mother at all. The words hit the room like a slammed door. Marina's mouth fell open. Celeste's voice cut off mid-accusation. And I, Eleanor Hale, 72 years old. A woman who has spent her life avoiding conflict felt something inside me stop moving. Martin had never raised his voice to our daughters, not once in nearly 50 years of marriage. Hearing him speak like that was like hearing a quiet house shout. But that moment was not where the story began. It was where everything collided. It started the day before. When my phone buzzed while I was folding dish towels, Marina's name lit the screen. I answered with the soft hello I always used, the one I practiced for years so I would never sound like a burden. She did not even breathe before speaking. Mom, I need you to stay home for Thanksgiving. My throat tightened. Is something wrong? You embarrass me, she said. Her voice clipped and rehearsed. Having you there would make me look bad. I cannot deal with that this year. The words were clean, sharp, delivered without hesitation. I stood still, the towel slipping from my hands, and I heard myself whisper, all right. I hung up before she could hear the crack in my breath. I told myself the humiliation would be over once the call ended. I told myself she was stressed, overwhelmed, tired any excuse to soften the blow. After all, I had spent a lifetime cushioning the impact of her choices. But the next morning, long before I had poured my first cup of tea, fists pounded against my front door. Marina and Celeste stood on the porch, cheeks flushed, eyes blazing. They looked like women ready for battle, not daughters visiting their mother. Why would you tell everyone you were uninvited? Marina demanded. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? Their anger pressed into the hallway as sharply as their words, and the weight of it all settled heavy on my chest as the day unraveled toward the moment when Martin finally spoke the sentence that broke decades of silence and every fragile illusion that came before it. Duide la phiên bang da swako hoi kui chung và du nguyên mat kamsuk. Nhipke và yêu cầu của bạn. I stood in the kitchen after the girls left, their voices still vibrating through the walls, and the past began pressing itself forward the way old memories do when they refuse to stay buried. For more than 40 years, Portland had been my world, not the postcard streets people romanticize, but the quiet hallways of hospice centers where I spent long nights holding hands that were growing colder by the hour. I earned enough to keep us steady, never enough to impress anyone who measured worth by status. My work demanded tenderness, stamina, and grace. Yet it made me nearly invisible, even to the people I raised. Mom, can you iron this? I need to look perfect. Marina had been barely 8 years old the first time she said that. She stood before the mirror smoothing her hair, imitating Martin's mother, a woman who believed appearance was a currency. Marina absorbed those lessons quickly. Girls like us need to look a certain way. She never included me in that us. Celeste followed her lead without asking questions, and Martin stayed neutral, hoping silence would hold everyone together. Let's not create tension, he'd murmur after the girls teased my thrift store dresses or the tremor in my hands after 12-hour shifts. Peace, to him, meant letting things slide. It is fine, I used to insist. They are young, but it carved its mark anyway. There was a year when Marina could not pay her rent during graduate school. I covered several months without thinking twice. I worked extra shifts, used the little I had saved. She told her friends she managed it all on her own. My name never surfaced. It never does. Even now, at 72, I can still hear her telling me I embarrassed her, a truth she spoke so easily, as if it were the simplest fact she knew. Marina did not come back inside after the argument. She and Celeste stormed down the walkway, leaving Martin and me in a silence that felt heavier than anything they had said. I sat at the table and tried to steady my breath. It never stayed steady for long when it came to Marina. Not anymore. The truth behind her words had been building for months. Long before the phone call. It began when she announced she was engaged to Andrew Whitmore, a man from a well-known family in Boston. She brought him home once, all polished charm and perfect posture. He shook my hand politely, but I could see the tightness in Marina's smile every time she looked my way. "Mom, could you maybe dye your hair?" she whispered after he left the room. "Just something soft. Something younger." I touched the silver strands at my temple, wondering why they suddenly mattered. "I have had this color for years." "I know," she said, "but his family is traditional." On another visit, she glanced at my hands. "Maybe cover the tremor with long sleeves, or hold your cup with both hands so it looks intentional." She tried to make it sound helpful, but her eyes always flicked toward the window as if someone might be watching. A month later, she insisted on taking me shopping for simple, modern clothes, the kind of outfits she said would not draw attention. I did what I always did. I tried. I let her guide me through racks of dresses that did not feel like mine. I sat through appointments where she asked stylists if they could soften the age in my features. I let her talk over me when I said I liked something she dismissed. None of it was enough. The day before Thanksgiving, she panicked. "I cannot risk this. Mom, I cannot have you ruin the image I am trying to build." Later, I learned she had already told Andrew's family I would not be attending because I was not feeling well. She made that decision before she ever dialed my number. I had been uninvited long before she said the words out loud. The knocking started before sunrise, sharp enough to shake the doorframe. I had barely tied my robe when the pounding grew louder, faster, as if they meant to break their way in. When I opened the door, Marina and Celeste pushed past me without waiting for permission. Marina's face was streaked with cold and fury. "How could you tell Grandma you were uninvited?" I did not tell her anything. I said, Celeste pointed at me like she already had the verdict. "She called us asking why you were not coming. She said you sounded hurt. Do you know how that makes us look?" I did not call her. I repeated. My voice was calm, but it did nothing to slow them down. Marina crossed her arms tightly. "So what? Mom!" She just magically knew Grandma saw the message thread. I said, "My name was not on the plan." Marina's eyes flashed. "You embarrassed us. Do you understand that you always find a way to make something dramatic?" Celeste stepped in front of her, shoulders rigid. "Why would you sabotage Marina's future like this? She has worked so hard to be taken seriously. And you—" She stopped, swallowing the words she wanted to throw. I answered my phone. I said, "That is all I did." Marina shook her head in disbelief. "You never take responsibility. You make everything about your feelings. You think you are the only one who struggles." The more quietly I stood, the more vicious they became. They needed somewhere to put their shame, so they put it on me. I stayed out of the way. I told them, exactly as you asked. "That is not enough." Celeste snapped. "Now people think we are cruel or ungrateful or worse. You could have handled this privately." I did handle it privately. I said. Marina let out a bitter laugh. "You are impossible. Needy and impossible." Behind them, Martin hovered near the doorway. His hands shook slightly, not from the cold, but from the conflict he had spent a lifetime avoiding. He opened his mouth, closed it again, and stepped back. Their anger filled the room as if they needed it to survive, and all I could do was stand there as the weight of their accusations settled over me, heavier than anything they had said the day before. Marina paced the length of my living room as if searching for a place to put her anger. "You need to apologize," she said. "Right now. You ruined Thanksgiving, and you made us look heartless." Celeste stood beside her, nodding sharply. "And to be clear, you are not coming to the engagement party either. We cannot risk more drama." I felt Martin shift behind them, the floor creaking under his weight. But he said nothing. Marina turned to me again. When Andrew's family is around, please just do not talk too much. You do not know how to present yourself in certain circles. It is not your fault. You were not raised that way. The words landed heavier than any insult. My chest tightened, and for a moment, I could not speak. It was not the cruelty that stunned me, it was how easily she said it. Celeste stepped closer. Mom, we are trying to help you understand. This is important for Marina. She cannot afford any missteps right now. I swallowed hard. I have never tried to hurt you. Intent does not matter, Marina snapped. Perception does. The room went still. Then Martin finally stepped forward. That is enough, he said quietly. Both girls turned to him, confused by the shift in his tone. He took a breath, bracing himself. You did not uninvite your mother because she embarrasses you. You did it because you are ashamed of who you have become. Marina's eyes widened as if she had been slapped. Celeste took a step back. You cannot talk to us like that, Marina whispered. You are our father. Martin's voice did not waver. I am also her husband, and I have watched what you two have turned into. Tears spilled down Marina's cheeks. More from disbelief than pain. You are taking her side after everything we have done for you. Martin's jaw tightened. What you have done is treat your mother like she is a burden you outgrew. Marina covered her face with her hands, shaking her head, refusing to believe he meant those words. Celeste stared at him as though the ground under her had shifted. For the first time in decades, Martin stood between us and them, not silently, not apologetically, but with the truth he should have spoken long ago. Marina wiped her face with the back of her hand, anger sharpening her voice again. Fine. If you refuse to apologize, then at least be useful. You can still help with the Thanksgiving prep. We need extra dishes, and the kids need watching. Celeste has work tomorrow. Celeste jumped in quickly, and we still need money for the decorations. I already told my co-workers you would handle everything like you always do. They think it is sweet how much you help. The words cut deeper than she expected. Handle everything like you always do. Not gratitude expectation, ownership. A role carved into me decades ago and worn thin. I already bought ingredients. Marina continued. So you can cook your usual dishes. It will make things easier for everyone. I am not cooking. I said. Celeste frowned as if she misheard. Then at least help with the kids. Marina needs time to meet Andrew's family without distractions. I am not watching the children, I said. Marina dropped her hands. Mom, stop this. We are trying to include you in a way that works. You uninvited me, I said softly. That was for image. Marina snapped. This is different. It is all the same, I replied. Celeste stepped closer, voice rising. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. You always do this, turn something simple into drama. I shook my head. I am not paying for decorations either. The room seemed to tilt. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Marina's voice cracked like ice. You are being selfish. After everything we have done for you, what you have done, I said, is assume I would always say yes. Celeste crossed her arms. So this is it. You are giving up on your own family. I steadied my breath. No, I am giving up the part where I disappear so everyone else can shine. Marina stared at me like she did not recognize me. You cannot do this. I can. I said, and I am. She began to shout. But Martin stepped in front of her. Enough! He said again, firmer this time. Your mother is allowed to say no. Their disbelief filled the room like smoke, spreading, thickening, searching for a place to settle. But it did not settle on me. I expected the day to feel empty. I thought the silence would sit heavy in every corner of the house. But when the doorbell rang just after noon, the sound carried something warmer than I had felt in days. My neighbor, Margaret Finch, stood on the porch with a casserole dish balanced in her hands. "I know you said you were keeping things simple," she said, "but no one should spend Thanksgiving without at least one casserole shoved at them." I laughed. The kind that shakes loose something tight in the chest. "Come in, Margaret, please." A few minutes later, my church friend, Ruth Wheeler, arrived with a basket of rolls and a container of cranberry sauce she swore was slightly less tart than last year's disaster. The teenager I tutor, Leo Hart, showed up not long after her with a pie he admitted was bought from the grocery store. "I figured honesty was better than poisoning anyone," he said. Cheeks red but smiling. I had not asked any of them for help. None of them expected me to cook for them. They simply came and they brought food as if offering pieces of themselves. Not favors or obligations. We crowded around my small table, leaning close, interrupting each other, laughing in a way that felt unforced. Margaret told stories about her late husband's famous attempts at frying turkeys. Ruth teased Leo about the time he accidentally glued his reading worksheet to the desk. Leo groaned and covered his face while we all laughed too loudly. No one commented on my hands. No one studied my clothes. No one told me to speak less or look nicer or adjust anything about myself. They looked at me when I talked. They listened. At one point, Margaret reached over and squeezed my wrist. "You deserve days like this," she said. For the first time in a long while, I believed her. The guests had barely left when the front door flew open without a knock. Marina and Celeste stormed inside as if the hinges had offended them. Marina pointed at me immediately. "You made us look ridiculous." "Do you have any idea what people are saying?" Celeste's voice rose on top of hers. "Everyone thinks we abandoned you. Our families, our co-workers, Andrew's parents, everyone. You embarrassed us." I stood from the table slowly. I did not speak to anyone. "That is the problem," Marina shouted. "Your silence makes us look worse." "You should have clarified things." Celeste jabbed a finger at the air. "Now they think we are cruel. They think we mistreat you. You made the family look dysfunctional." Before I could answer, Martin stepped forward, placing himself between us. His voice was steady, but there was a tremor beneath it that came from something deeper than fear. "Your mother did not embarrass you," he said. "You did that yourselves." Both daughters froze, stunned that he had spoken first. Marina blinked hard. "Dad, you do not understand. I understand more than you think," Martin said. "And I am done pretending I do not." Celeste crossed her arms. "We are trying to fix this. Mom made everything worse." "Your mother covered for you for decades," Martin replied. "And not once did either of you thank her." He reached into the side drawer of the cabinet, one I had always assumed he never opened, and pulled out a thick folder held together with aging rubber bands. Marina frowned. "What is that?" "The truth," Martin said. He opened the folder and spread the papers across the table. Rent receipts. I paid during Marina's graduate school years, car repair invoices for Celeste, childcare payments, tuition gaps, emergency medical bills, wedding deposits, grocery totals during their lean months. Every line, every dollar, documented. Celeste's face drained of color. "You kept track, I kept records," Martin answered. "Because I knew one day you would pretend she never did any of it." Marina stared at the papers, her breath catching. "Dad, Andrew's family already thinks they know you uninvited your own mother," Martin said, "and now they know why." He rested his hand on the table. "Not shaking this time. She did not humiliate you," he said. "You did that on your own." Marina backed away from the table as if the papers might burn her. "This is twisted," she said. "Mom must have manipulated you. She has been turning you against us." I stayed silent. But Martin stepped in front of me. "No one manipulated me," he said. I started paying attention, Celeste scoffed. You never pay attention. You forget everything. How would you suddenly know any of this? Martin's jaw set in a way I had rarely seen. Because I heard more than you think. He pulled his phone from his pocket. You left a voicemail. Marina, one you did not mean to. I heard you mocking your mother's clothes, her hands, her voice, all the things she has been quietly insecure about for years. Marina's expression crumbled. Dad, that was a joke. Delete it. No, Martin said. I am done deleting things to protect your egos. Celeste looked between us. Something uneasy settling in her eyes. Andrew's parents canceled dinner with us. They said they needed time to understand the situation. Someone must have told them something. They asked me. Martin replied. I told them the truth. Marina pressed her hands against her temples. People at my office think we abandoned you. My supervisor asked if we have a history of mistreating you. People at mine are talking too. Celeste added, half the invitations I usually get this time of year are gone. Martin did not flinch. Respect is earned, even between parent and child. Marina stepped closer. Desperate. Mom, you can fix this. If you just clarify things, say it was a misunderstanding, everything can still be salvaged. Celeste nodded quickly. You do not have to make this worse. I straightened, feeling the years of quiet obedience slipping off me like a heavy coat. I am not fixing anything for you, I said. Not anymore. Marina's mouth trembled. Celeste's eyes widened, disbelief flickering through them like a flame losing air. They gathered their coats slowly, stunned in a way anger could not mask, and walked out without another word. The door closed behind them with a soft, final sound that stayed in the room long after they were gone. The weeks that followed felt strangely quiet, not the kind of silence that presses on your ribs, but something gentler, something that let me breathe in ways I had not in years. I spent afternoons with Margaret, evenings at church with Ruth, and Saturday mornings helping Leo with his reading. None of it felt forced. None of it felt like I had to earn my place. One morning, Martin walked into the kitchen holding an envelope edged in blue ink. Your mother sent this, he said softly. I opened it slowly. Grandma's handwriting had always looked like small waves moving across the page. Eleanor, thank you for telling the truth with grace. I saw more than either of those girls ever suspected. I am proud of you. I always have been. I read it twice, then pressed the letter to my chest. She knew. I whispered. Martin pulled out a chair, lowering himself as if the weight of the last months finally needed a place to rest. I should have said something years ago, he said. Decades ago. I thought staying quiet would keep the peace. It only kept the peace for them. I replied. He nodded, eyes glossy. I am sorry. Eleanor, for 40 years of silence. I reached for his hand. From now on, we are honest. Transparency. No more swallowing things to make life easier for everyone else. He squeezed my fingers. I can do that. Word drifted through family circles and workplaces faster than any of us expected. Marina and Celeste avoided calling, each of them facing questions they never thought they would have to answer. Why did their father defend their mother? Why had the story changed so dramatically? Why had they been so quick to blame me? Martin asked once if I wanted to reach out. I shook my head. They need to face themselves before they face me. And so I let the distance remain. Not as a punishment, just a boundary finally held in place. One evening, as snow began to press softly against the windows, Martin sat beside me on the couch. The fireplace crackled in the quiet. You seem lighter, he said. I am, I answered. For the first time, the truth felt simple. I did not lose a family, I said. I finally stopped losing myself. If you have ever had to walk away to protect your dignity, Share your story below and stay with me for what comes next.